Morning, everybody. My name is Jay Johnson. I'm the pastor here at the church in Royal, Illinois. I'm going to share a couple of things with you about to lead in is this stained glass window we have in our church. It's a reference. It's a visual reference to the passage from Revelations chapter 3, verse 20, and Jesus says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." And every time I see this, when I come in here, the first time I came in this church, I thought about someone's knocking at the door. And there's a song that I always think about, and I know it's probably not in any hymnal that I've seen, but the song goes like this: "Someone's knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Someone's knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Do me a favor, open the door. Let him in, ooh yeah. Someone knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Someone's knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Do me a favor, open the door, let him in, ooh yeah." Well, it's pretty tough to beat that tune, I think. That's by Paul McCartney. And when that song came out, I doubt that Paul McCartney was thinking about Jesus knocking on the door, but every time I hear that song, what goes into my head is someone's knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Do me a favor, open the door, let him in, ooh yeah. Jesus wants us to open the door and let him in. You see, on that painting, on the original of that work, which is in England, there's no knob on the door. There's a latch on the inside. The door opens from the inside. And Jesus wants, as he knocks on the door, as he's knocking on the door, he's imploring and he's begging people, please open the door because I really want to be with you. Jesus wants to do that. So here's my question. Where is it that most of us get our spiritual food from? Where is it that we get our spiritual nourishment from? Where do we have that feeds us? Well, we could say we get it in church, but I think, matter of fact, we only get a tiny bit of it in church. We get just a small portion of what goes into our heads and into our lives comes actually in a building like this. It actually comes mostly from our parents, and when we have the Word of God, obviously that gets read not just in this building, but it gets read to us in various places. And so, what is it that we want? We're called to process and to think. And I'm going to show you this word. This is a really cool word. This word is to muse. Muse, it was an idea that was very popular back in the ancient times. The Greeks had what they called the muses, and there was 9 muses, and there were actually ways of thinking, of pondering, of meditating, of evaluating and weighing things, so that our minds would be focused on thinking more honoring thoughts and deeper thoughts, and things that would cause us to mature. And so there were those 9 muses that the Greeks had. And it means, as I say, to thoroughly meditate, to ponder, and to consider. To consider what is the impact of what we're doing. So anyway, I was with these a group of kids at this camp. This camp in Okoboji. It was up in northwest Iowa. And I'd shown a film that night. It was a really cool film. I'm not sure if any of you have seen it. I'd recommend it highly. It's called Chariots of Fire. It's about a couple of guys, a really strong Christian man by the name of Eric Little. But after the film, I said, no, what can we do? What can we as a group do that will cause us to grow deeper in our faith, that we can get together and we can be united in some sort of activity? There'll be a lot of fun. We can have a lot of fun, but we can also grow. And some kids said, well, let's go to Valley Fair. Now, Valley Fair is this huge park where there's all kinds of rides and activities and stuff to do and food to eat and singing and all kinds of activities. So I said, well, what is? I mean, I played dumb. I knew what Valley Fair was. I said, so what is that? And he goes, this kid said, well, it's an amusement park. And I said, oh, a what? An amusement park? And I said, I'm sorry, could you say that again? Amusement park. And I said, what does amuse mean? Oh. If muse means to think and to ponder and to meditate. Amuse doesn't mean that. Amuse means actually something different from that. Amuse means simply to go and have a happy time. No, I'm not opposed to being happy. One of the guys said, "So are you against having fun?" I said, "No, I'm not against having fun." But I said, when I have the opportunity to be with kids like you, and I really admire all of these kids, I admire the people here in our congregation, in our town. I don't mind having fun, but I really like to kind of ponder what are the things we could do. And so the same kid said, "Well, if you don't want to go to an amusement park, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I got a great idea." And he goes, "What's that?" I said, "I propose that we go on a bike trip, on a 150-mile bike trip from the highest point in Wisconsin on bikes up to the highest point in Michigan. We'll go from peak to peak." And we already had it planned out, take us 3 days, 50 miles a day. And what would we do on the trip? We would go this 50 miles, and 50 miles is not long on a bike, especially when you're pretty energetic. And so what we did was as we rode along on our bikes, we'd stop 2 or 3 times a day. Kids would tell about their thoughts, what they were going through. Every night we had times of sharing and talking. Lots of good food, and it was, I will say, it was a marvelous time. Then the point was, we want to make sure that we engage with people so that they can share what is in their hearts and what is their faith. Now, when Jesus is knocking on the door, when he's knocking on the door and somebody opens it up, it's probably not going to be Jesus who's standing there. It's probably going to be somebody kind of like you or me. And when that door opens, we're going to be the voice. We're going to have the voice, and we're going to say the words that Jesus would have us say. And this is really cool. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 19 and 20, it says, Jesus says, "And don't worry about what you're going to say." He said, "Because the Spirit of my Father will give you the words that you need to say. And when the time comes, just be yourself. Just be yourself. Have a good time. But allow the time to focus upon what Jesus would have you do." If Jesus was in there, if it's the two of you and Jesus, what do you think Jesus would be talking about? I guarantee you, Jesus was never boring. And quite frankly, I've never met anybody that's ever been critical of the person of Jesus Christ. So when they meet you, I'd like to make sure that you speak about those things that would cause them to hear more about what Jesus thinks. And remember, someone's knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Someone's knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Do me a favor, open the door, let them in. Ooh, yeah. Thanks for coming. Take care.